Okay, so in the last video, you saw me make homemade applesauce in the Instant Pot. Well, now I am ready to start canning that applesauce. So I want to show you guys how to can applesauce real quick. Now, the first batch of applesauce that I made today is in this pot right here. The second batch that I made has just finished and it is ready to be put in this pot. I'm going to combine it all together. It does take 2 batches of cooked apples from the Instant Pot to fill this pot, which I know will make a canner full. So that is my process here. The pressure has been released, so very carefully I'm going to take the lid off of my Instant Pot. It is still very hot. You can see as I stir them, they just disintegrate down into applesauce. This is what I had earlier. I have it heating up on the stove to make sure that everything is hot. It's just starting to bubble, so I know it is hot. So we are ready to can some applesauce. I'm gonna use my hot pads, and I am just carefully going to pour this in with the other. I need ready for this. I've already got my lids washed and they're heating up on the back burner. I've got my jars washed and they're staying warm in my canner. And then my applesauce is already boiling, so I know that it is hot and ready to go. Just stir this all together really well. It's ready to go. I've already added some distilled white vinegar to my canner just to make sure that my jars don't get that buildup on the outside. We have hard water and it really makes the jars look cruddy when you forget the vinegar. It's not a big deal, it just doesn't look fantastic, so I always add a little bit of vinegar to my canner. When you are canning applesauce, it is a 1/2 inch headspace, and then you're going to process it quarts for 20 minutes. So I'm going to go through and fill all of my jars to a 1/2 inch headspace. As I fill my jars, I use a headspace tool to get the air bubbles out. I just move it around the jar and work those air bubbles up and down. Okay. Then I'm going to use the other end to measure the headspace, and I want a 1/2 inch. That one is just a little bit over, so I'm going to scoop out just a little bit and remeasure. That's much better. Okay. Then you take your clean rag and wipe the rim to make sure that there's no bits of applesauce that are going to interfere with getting a good seal. I'll use my lid lifter to grab one of these warm lids, put it right on top, add my ring, and then I'll set it down in the canner. I'm going to repeat this process for all of the jars. thing I do try to do is save my regular mouth jars for applesauce and save my wide mouth jars for things like green beans and whole tomatoes and peaches and things like that that are bigger pieces that I'm putting into the jar or that I need to get back out of the jar. And applesauce is just perfect for regular mouth jars. So that is one thing I do try to keep in mind as I'm planning the jars that I need to preserve different foods. It does not matter one bit what type of jar you use, that's just a preference of mine. Okay, these jars are all ready to load into the canner. And I did wind up only getting 6 quarts of applesauce this time instead of 7. So I have one extra jar in the middle there that was heating up that I'm not gonna have to use, but I'm just going to leave it in there. And then I always use my headspace tool to check and make sure that I have at least an inch of water over the top of my jars. Again, applesauce can be water bath canned. I am using my pressure canner, but I'm using it as a water bath canner. So I am going to set my lid on. But I am not going to use any type of weighted gauge or anything like that to build up pressure inside. I'm only going to bring it up to temperature. Then I'm gonna let my quart jars process for 20 minutes. When the 20 minutes is up, they will be ready to turn the heat off, take out, and let them sit overnight. And while my jars are processing, I'm gonna go ahead and get everything cleaned up. Okay, everyone. Our jars have finished processing. So I turned the heat off, then I took the lid off and let them sit. I let them sit for 5 more minutes just to kind of let everything settle down and the water stop boiling and all of that. Now I'm going to take the applesauce out and set them right here, and I'm just gonna leave them there overnight and let them cool. And then tomorrow I will take the rings off, check to make sure that the lid's sealed, and wipe the jars off, make sure everything's cleaned up, and then take it down to our food storage area. So I just use this jar lifter. It comes in a kit with all different canning utensils, or you could probably just pick one of these up, but you definitely want one of these moving hot jars. So I'm just gonna carefully lift them out and set them over here on my towel. I try to keep them very steady and not tilt them. And leave a little bit of a gap in between the jars. I don't want them to touch. That'll just let it cool all around them. There you have it. That is all there is to canning applesauce. It's a very simple, pretty quick process to get the jars processed in the water bath canner. If you missed it, make sure you go back to the previous video where I show you how I make the applesauce in the Instant Pot. Drop any questions or comments that you have below. I would love to hear from you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure that you like and share the video and hit that subscribe button to make sure you see more videos like this from the homestead.